Hey, Sean.
Hello there.
Thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for Marc Antoine inviting me.
Yeah.
Nice to meet
The
you.
yeah, the quorum varies. Like sometimes there's more people, sometimes less. Haven't seen Tim in a while, who's the founder of CDL. I should ping him on that note. Uh, Among people who are often here but cannot make it today is Carl Geringer, who has another interesting tool for capturing arguments on a web page. He's got a little plugin, like Chrome plugin, where you can make
Oh,
like markup. This is an argument, and then start saying this is the argument structure in this
yeah,
page,
yeah.
which is cool. Bentley is looking at very. How you want to describe it? Probably.
Yeah, I can give a quick. Yeah, it's really kind of a scoring methodology for debates to keep track, not like who wins, but to keep track of where the argument is and allow people to navigate through all the claims quickly. So that's kind of the focus area I'm focusing on, and then that would be something that could be added to most of the other systems that participate here.
Hmm.
And I'm going to make a video series using it is the current plan rather than building a system that people use, because then I don't have to worry about moderation. Um, so anyways, that's where I'm at, and we can go more
Yeah.
into that also.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, yeah, no, it's a wonderful wonderfully broad domain. And there are so many different takes on it and aspects of the problem space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess we could, Sean, so we're recording this and some people watch it afterwards. And so I assume when Mark brought you on, maybe this would be a good time to
Oh yeah.
describe yourself and maybe this, what you're working on in this space. Invite you to that
Mhm.
or anything else you'd like.
Yeah. Um, I'll uh, I'll I'll be brief. I have done a lot of knowledge visualization work, and a lot of work in the space of yeah, human-centric visualization approaches, usually with semantic content. So most recently, a bunch of RDF star related content, and earlier um, mirror RDF owl, and earlier still stuff related to OKBC, Open Knowledge Based Connectivity, um, an older pre-semantic web frame-based knowledge representation framework. Um, all of this has been in the context of oh, here, I'll share a link here just as a little sampler.
I think you should show Neuron in action. If you,
Um,
Yeah, Sean, we have time to dive into it if you want to just
we
consider
have an hour.
your opportunity to present to
okay.
the community and then
Maybe I am jumping that on you and
unless you don't feel up to it, or we don't want to pressure you.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, we can do that.
But feel free to let it fly if you want to. I guess
Yeah.
what we're saying. You can take the whole meeting. Mark Antoine and I don't have much of uh an agenda today, and if we did, it would just be him and I arguing about some esoteric thing in the corner.
Understood.
and Sean and I had an occasion to talk about the esoterics of disambiguation and recursive hypergraphs and
Oh, Lord.
RDF reification, and so we are
We do go on.
we do
It's
go on.
it's getting to be a little comedic. when the two of us get together, we do pretty deep dives into the into knowledge representation, I must say. Okay, here.
And this is what this is about, right? The
Yeah.
goal of CDL, I think I did say that to you privately, but I think it's important to remind us, is let's have whether it's centralized or federated as part of the argument, but it shouldn't matter. But let's have one API endpoint where we can say what is this argument? Give me an identity for it, and maybe it'll be floating with evolving identities with disambiguation, but still give me an ID for it, and let's look at all the arguments related to it through various relationships. What are the counter arguments? What are the variants? What are this? What are that? So get the connectome of arguments. So this is really Canonical Debate Lab. It's about having a claim and counterclaim generalized database, so that when people make a claim, it's like, yeah, it's here. Your claim is here.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is not
Oh
new.
God, yeah, yeah. No.
And the
Essential.
counter argument is here. So until you have a
Yeah,
new response to that one, it's being refuted.
yeah. No, for sure, for sure. It's an essential methodology. I'm going to quit and reopen so that I can screen share. I shall be back in seconds.
Right.
Sorry about that. Okay, here. Sorry, I've just changed my screen situation here recently, and so here, let's just give this a go. And I have lost you, gentlemen.
We should be in the other screen, but we still see you. Oh, that's another URL. Thinker Toys. Lovely, lovely name.
Oh. Okay. Okay, so what are we looking at here? We are looking at a couple of different things. One is one is HuViz. Let's take a quick gander at HuViz first, just for a spot of fun. So it's a generic semantic visualization technology here. Let's take a look at friend of a friend. And what friend of a friend is a ontology recognized broadly in the semantic web community. And what ThinkerToys does, what HuViz does, is it presents data sets, maybe they're ontologies, maybe they're semantic data sets, first in this ring format where all the nodes, all the subjects and objects in the data set are presented around the perimeter in alphabetic order starting from the top. It also has a bunch of of verbs over here for performing actions on the entities in the data set, and a couple of different displays here, different sets of them. So notice that all of them start off as being shelved at the outset. There are currently 143 shelved. There are 171 in the of them all, and one has been activated. Which one was activated? Well, the action that just got performed by me dragging it in there was I activated agent. So this node at the center, not sure if you can see it, but it's the agent node, and so it's got a little ring around it and a little dark highlight around the perimeter to help us remember that, to show its activatedness. So we can mess around with command history and we can go back one. We can step back one, for instance. We can also do things like we can activate all the classes. I just click the verb activate, and now I click class. And so all of the classes, which are this particular shade of yellow here, just got activated. And so when they are activated, then they pull other nodes into the graph. So this is just it's a generic but really quite powerful tool for making for essentially curating a graph representation. And so it's also possible to do things like, say, label. I just clicked, oh, here, let's turn off, deactivate the verb activate, disengage the verb activate, and engage the verb label. Label is a verb in this context. And now what we can do is click on, well, we can click on, this is the class selector down here. And so these are the different classes of entity depicted in this visualization that are present in this data set. This is an ontology, and as a consequence, contains wacky things like classes, data type properties, functional properties, etc. These are OWL concepts. So now if I label class, well, that does the job of turning on the labels associated with all those nodes. If I then label something else like literals, well then, oh, all the literals are now labeled, even if they're not graphed, et cetera, et cetera. So it's, and again, see the whole history up here of the command history of the various provoking tortures that I've just subjected this data set to. So it's a really pretty flexible, powerful methodology for, well, kind of set of features looking for some purpose. So there's one of the things that I've done some work on. And this was in the context of some digital humanities uh, work for some universities in Canada, Guelph, Alberta, and Cambridge University was part of that collaboration too, actually. So that's HuViz. Now, here is a later bit of work. Here's the most recent embodiment of the thing that I'm working on. And so broadly, we could say that the thing that I'm beavering away at, it started off with the name the Idea Engine. Too long ago to a long time ago, let's put it that way. And the latest embodiment is a thing called Thinker Toys. And what Thinker Toys is it can be thought of as a browser for a merged mental model of the world that humans might create together. So if the World Wide Web is full of documents that are all interlinked hypertextually, and also a bunch of sort of older kinds of ephemera of that character, so other kinds of documents other that pre-existed HTML, text documents, and so on. If that's what the World Wide Web is full of, then the thing that I'm straining to create is basically the successor, which I would submit is perhaps nicely called the MMM, the merged mental model. So if you've got, we've all got ideas in our heads, this densely interconnected cluster of notions in our noggins. And those notions are connected by associations, relationships of various kinds. When I speak to you, when you speak to me, what we're doing is we're exchanging bit streams that themselves have loaded on top of them basically suggested edit lists from my network of associations that I'm suggesting you can perhaps adjust, interpret as you will for inclusion in your set of interconnected notions. And so I would submit that that's a highly formalized, obviously, and caricatured description of how it is that what it is that human communication consists of. But when we're when we're being rational, when we're being explanatory, teaching, most of these kind of non-performative interactions essentially have something like that as their character. Um, and and so I would basically, this work is in the spirit of wouldn't it be great if there was a place, a container on the web, where we could co-curate our hypotheses, our understandings, our models of the world. And of course, those models have contradiction across them, right? They've got error in them. There's misinformation, there's lying, right? There's propaganda, there's mayhem, there's confusion, there's all of those things, right? So we need a container that can hold that multiplicity of merit, right? That spectrum of value, all the way from worthless through perpetual, right? And
Yep.
lasting, right? Um, so that's what I'm trying to make. And so the debate lab approach, or basically, I see the debate lab kind of modality as being one of several tremendously potent modalities that we might employ to to assist us in the process of harmonizing, elaborating, clarifying the disconnect, the disagreement, the disharmony between our um, mental models as we attempt to find convergence among them. Okay, so that's kind of that's that's a framing for the relationship of my work to this debate lab approach. And so what do we have here? Sorry, so Thinker Toys is sort of it's the it's an attempt at a gesture at the browser that we might need for interacting with the MMM. So here, let's type in so here's kind of what amounts to Bedlarin. Here's what amounts to a little search engine kind of user experience. I typed in Berlin. I'm clicking on WP. WP represents Wikipedia. So when we click on WP, then we find ourselves viewing the Wikipedia content. This is the Wikipedia content. It went and grabbed the content from Wikipedia rather than showing us the Wikipedia page. We could also, can we view the Wikipedia page? Let's see if it would work. And what is this north, south, east, west, and X? Well, what that little control does is it controls where it is that content gets displayed. So let's type Paris and click WP again, and now Paris opens up to the left because I had pre-selected west over here. So so the idea is that so that's just one aspect of things here. Sorry, I mean, this is very much obviously under construction, but what this content is over here is this is an embedded video. Okay, this is a graph visualization. Here, I'm going to reload this. I think it got a little confused there. Here is a graph visualization with a different visualizer that I built called the NewViz visualizer. What's interesting about this one is that it's capable of actually, it's soon going to inherit all the functionality of the important functionality of HuViz, but something that it does that HuViz doesn't do is it manages things like the visualization of not just regular subject, predicate, object style triples, but it also visualizes
Links to
meta
links,
state. What's that?
links to links. No, it's links to links in the. Okay, I see.
Yeah, yeah. So if a caricatured atomic triple is subject, predicate, object, as depicted here, well, an RDF star style reified um, uh, triple, such as this subject, predicate, object triple, can have itself meta statements made about it. Okay, so here we go. This is a visualize. I'm unaware of generic tools for owl visualization that support metastatement visualization. So there we go. So that's what NuViz is bringing to the table here. And let's look at a more interesting example here. Oh, the Galileo set. So here I'm going to grab a node, and then look, I can drop it on any of these little handles, any of the green handles anywhere. I'm going to drop it on the center handle to visualize it there. So, oh God, what did I do? All of these screen layouts are basically represented, this is so bizarre, up here in the URL. So there's in effect, a page layout language in the URL. Okay.
I've done that in Idealoom at some point, so I'm very amused.
Oh, that's so cool. Seriously, every time we converse, Marc Antoine and I keep on discovering fresh ways that our brains are so terribly similar. It's just crazy. Um,
Quite.
so here, yeah, new
Oh, that's
new
brilliant.
NuViz is not yet doing a good job of providing stable layouts, but basically what's being depicted here is the whole geocentric versus heliocentric um, hypothesis debate, right? In effect, and so here we can pin things by dragging them and pinning them down. But the point here is that the connectivity of this graph, despite its unreadability because of the layout logic being so shoddy at the moment, is such that that in effect we're seeing a this is so embarrassing. I hate this thing. Here, let's see if we can. But basically, what I'm attempting to depict with this particular data set is this notion of so terrible. Let's reload that. Is this notion that that assertions, this said relationship. Oh God, I'm so sorry about this layout.
No,
Oh,
it's reality. And sorry, it's a basic limitation of doing things with bubbles and arrows. I have
well, it
long
is.
to say about we should
I
never
know.
use bubbles and arrows.
Well,
We both
yeah.
we both have had I've done dynamic layouts too, so I know they're much more challenging than they look.
No, it's just so hideous, as you gentlemen both well know. Yeah. So the point here is that let's take a look at this. That this Earth orbits Sun edge, okay, was said, in effect, that was hypothesized by Aristarchus of Samos in when did he say that? Well, in 270 BC. And then what was the source for the assertion that he said it then? Well, yes, this page over on Wikipedia. So I'm going to drag that over here, and well, there's the Wikipedia page about Copernicus, wherein it is described that this is the case, that he encountered that hypothesis earlier over in anyway. So this is just a gesture, a sketch at a direction that I'm headed here with this, of course, is this is some of this is the kind of thing that is in effect going to be appearing in the merged mental model, right? Deep down, um, it will consist of not just the assertions that we make, but those assertions grounded in their provenance, that we have asserted them, and that our sources were this and that at the moment of assertion. So imagine us being able to, so imagine a browser extension, for example, or really where this app is headed is in the direction of being, this is currently a web app, but where it's headed is being a desktop app or a mobile app that in effect is a new form of web browser that goes a bit beyond and supports these cognitive operations, right? Of citing and noting and asserting and so on, right? That's where this world is headed. Okay.
Meta statements, yes.
Absolutely. So that we've got tooling so that humanity can engage in that kind of activity with one another. We already do that kind of thing informally or through the formalism of academia, but we don't do it with tooling. So it's all just this ephemeral BS that's happening in the cloud, right? Sorry, it's not in the cloud. It's just it's ephemeral. So the notions only currently the notions only exist in our heads, and they're only live when we're awake, okay, and conscious and undrugged or drunk, right? But if we've got a place where we can hold them all and curate them, co-curate them, then those notions become live, public, flexible, manageable, using a whole new set of verbs, the verbs associated not with data, but with cognitive activities, comparing, evaluating, considering, deciding, right? So, and here's sorry, thank you for your patience. One more thing. Let me show you one more thing, as Steve Jobs would say. And that is what am I looking for? Oh, ponder. So pondering, what the hell is pondering? What pondering is another, okay, so if a subject, a predicate, and an object, that is that intersection between the subject and the predicate, can be displayed tabularly. So here, then we get a user experience like this. So what if, what's a good, oh yeah. So here's a data set consisting of a bunch of different idea engine code bases through the years. Oh God, yes, it goes way back. And so what do we have here? So let's collapse this view. We just grab this handle and collapse it. We can easily reorder these are criteria or properties of the entities. I say criteria, they can either be, in effect, explicit objective properties, data, or they can be subjective criteria by which we human minds evaluate these things, right? Where the things, let's call the rows, let's call them in the ponder view, let's call them candidates, okay? And so imagine then, what do we have here? This is a poor example of candidates.
Postscript.
Oh, yeah, let's go to the, oh, sorry. So what's happening is a nested sort sort of situation driven by the criteria. Uh, so yeah, anyway, you get the idea. So a shortcoming of this particular embodiment is that these values are, how do we say this? They are, they're just a single individual's assertion. But what I'm working on right now is a re-implementation. I've implemented this knowledge store technology, I don't know how many times, many times, 10 or more times. But this latest time, let's call the embodiment of the technology, let's call it, it's in Rust. It's currently called Wittmerk. Witt for Wittgenstein and Merck for Ralph Merkel. And the idea is that what it does is it stores this MMM. It stores your evaluation and my evaluation of something or other, a candidate with respect to a criterion. Okay. And you might score it this way, I might score it that way. How do we do the job of somehow summarizing or amalgamating those multiple assertions of value, right? Well, the tech that I've implemented for that on a couple of occasions is called discriminators. So what discriminators are is basically they're not filters on the basis of the values, but rather they're, imagine filters that can filter on the basis of value, but also filter on the basis of the provenance, right? Or other deeper, diverse, like boundless considerations with respect to the sourcing or any other characteristic of the asserted value. So who said it? When did they say it? What was the evidence that they used? What was the nature of the evidence? Was it instrumental? Was it photographic? Was it a burning bush that told them this? So there's a whole system of epistemological merit in effect that is also underpinning the way the discriminator technology supports us in flying around in epistemological space, basically, as we consider asserted alternatives. So how about if we call it quits there with the demo for the moment? And how do I do that? Uh-oh.
Cool.
I was just amused. Whoops. We lost your
Okay.
picture.
How do I... Sorry. Start
I
video.
think
Stop presenting. How do I stop presenting?
it should be the third button. Well, the third in the second group, so the fifth.
Well,
There's a
sorry,
share.
I
It's
have a
called share.
situation where I have a ludicrous number of displays, so I've kind of lost track of.
Not a huge deal. Not a huge deal. First, congrats. Some of the visualizations really impressed me. I'll admit I really like Whovis. I had thought of something very similar, and I'll tell you how I'm going to handle reification in Whovis. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. The Thinker Toys links to links. Well, you know what I think of bubbles and arrows, or maybe you don't yet. Arrows.
I agree. I agree. It's a hideous representation, but what it does do is it exposes the machine language level kind of
Absolutely.
connectivity of the
Absolutely,
no,
absolutely. Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. And you saw I gave you a quick look at the Kipu visualization, and I do think we should work on that soonish because I do
No.
think some things could be really cool. But I really love UVis. I've been thinking about something like UVis because what is cool about UVis, I was thinking of it as a quarter circle instead of full circle. And the advantage is I can put all the names not going in diagonal, but as a horizontal list, like or vertical list of horizontal
Yeah,
text. And I can still do the hyperbolic thing you're doing, so that only some text is visible when there's enough importance, and then a link between 2 points is actually, if you think of the secant circle, that would exactly join those two points.
Yes.
And the midpoint of the secant circle becomes a point on the quarter circle. So any link is determined by a point in the circle.
Any link. Can you say that again?
Any link is determined by a point on the circle, in
Ah,
the body of the circle. If you have the ideas on the circumference, then any pair of points on the circumference, you make the secant circle midpoint. That's unique for any point position.
yeah. No, I take your point. Yes. Yeah, no, yes, yeah, I've wondered about that too. Actually, yes, wait a minute. Yes, exactly. We needn't have the arbitrariness of the use of the center of the center point of the arc. Correct.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, no,
so
no.
okay, we are really thinking alike about those things. That's really fun.
Yeah.
Let's get more into it. But I love and your Bonder. It's absolutely lovely the way you can reorder criteria and reorder basically attributes of entities, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, and I haven't demoed how there's even basically I'm delurking after kind of a couple of decades, uncloaking after a couple of decades of R&D. This is stupid that I've done this way. It's just insane. But that is what in effect has happened. And there are about 30 papers worth of material here. And this is just a part of it so far.
one of many. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Absolutely stunning work.
So
Uh,
in effect, this ponder visualize, that's actually there's spreadsheet. There's spreadsheet formulae in there. There's there's other stuff in there. There's other tech demonstrations where anyway where in effect laid bare is a new programming modality that we could call KOP, knowledge-oriented programming or semantic-oriented programming, where in effect method bodies live as as an extension to whatchamacallits, to ontologies, live in objects, semantic objects, and as a consequence, and then get the benefit of this whole social truth resolution mechanism provided by discriminators. So in effect, what it is it's a version control system that breaks away from the limitations of Wikipedia and Git, where their limitations are that there's only one, in effect, only one wavefront.
I was going to
Only a
get into that.
particular
Okay.
truth closure available at any particular moment. It's difficult to articulate, but the bottom line is that what we're going to be able to do is engage in effect parametric combinatory recombinant genetic um truth resolution. I hate the word truth, it's wrong, but anyway.
Well, let's call it aggregate functions. The thing, and I'm with you. I've thought about that. Obviously, listen, you've been working on it. I've been thinking about it. It's not the same, but some of the things that have stopped me is then whenever you're dealing with spreadsheets, you get an ordering problem, of course. I mean, you can do kind of calculation, dependency graph, and try to resolve that. But at some point, your graph is almost circular, and that's a thing that happens in spreadsheets. They detect it and break it, usually, though sometimes they even allow it so that you can. One group who's thought about this in a wonderful fashion is the, what's it called again? There's a group who's looked at it as event, a kind of event propagation with cycles and internal cycles when there's a loop. So when there's a loop, you let you make a kind of very fast cycle in a time period to stabilize, and then you go with kind of coarser time units. I'll have to send you that. It's really interesting.
My little shock response there was that is analogous to to paths of minimum action in physics.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
Oh, cute.
So it's all deeply intertwined.
It is. And can I find this quickly? Let's see if I can find it quickly because it shouldn't be that hard. Okay, no. Just things that begin with A in my.
So to
But
clarify then, we're going to need a whole bunch of different visualization technologies, right, to deal with all these different facets of the collaborative experience of trying to work with our disparate understandings and perspectives and hypotheses, right? And so
totally true.
debate lab, that's one of the visualizations. That's one of the interactive modalities that we have to have, obviously, right, for dealing with because
Absolutely.
it's homologous with the human process of debate.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
But I was curious, have you seen, like, for me, there's a clear isomorphism between the way you describe how these methods are anchored to many objects and multi-methods like multiple dispatch. I don't know if you've seen it that way.
Can you say that again? Say it again.
There's an isomorphism between these kind of cell-like methods that you're talking about and multiple dispatch.
Yeah. Yes. No, I have thought about that. Well, and the what's it called? The diamond diagram for method resolution in multiple inheritance languages.
No, that's the same. That's no. Multiple dispatch, it's not that. It's normally when you have a method in OO language, in most OO languages, you dispatch based on the class of the receiver of the message, right? Or the first argument of the method, really, which is syntactic sugar to
Self.
be
Yeah.
self. Yeah, but in some languages where you have multi methods, you declare a method. It has n arguments, and then you say, oh, when first argument is this class, and second argument is that class, and third argument is that class. Here's the method. When first argument, you can have dispatch quality on any of the parameters. That's called multiple dispatch.
Is
Julia does that, among others.
Julia? I haven't coded in Julia. Yeah. Okay.
But other languages do it. Some languages are really use that notion extensively. Julia has possibly one of the best rates of composability of different libraries of any language, very much because of heavy use of multiple dispatch. It's much easier to say, oh, I'll take ideas from this library and combine them with that library because multiple dispatch allows for much more composability.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for that. I'll have to investigate that and understand that.
That's absolutely worth getting into. And also, by the way, sorry, I'll get into my take on, on the one hand, there's the world of thought and the world of dialogue, and we want to model the reality of dialogue and expand it to the world of thought, so to speak. I've been thinking of each person or community or conversation as an event stream. So you explicitly construct an event stream out of multiple event streams until you have the federated global event stream. But anybody can create an event stream. This is, my language acts. And if we're in conversation, we'll create, this is our language acts. So it will will inject events in that event stream. And that's a way
Yes.
both to handle privacy, because each event stream would be shareable as a unit,
Mm.
and how much you can even give out. If you don't want to give out the whole event stream, then you can give a filtered view of the event stream.
Yeah. So using my terminology here, I would say that the way to generate that, oh dear God, these event streams that sum across multiple individuals' event streams, is essentially through the abstraction of something like discriminators that that
Okay,
that in effect perform the filtration logic,
could
um
be, could be,
for,
could be, but I would
for
also
doing that transformation.
distinguish. I would distinguish uh, event properties from computed aggregate properties. And that's a whole other conversation. I think some of the stuff you want will be filtering, and some of, it's, what is it, MapReduce? Some of it is filtering, and some of it is aggregation, right?
Oh,
In
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Discriminators have to be able to do both, of course.
I think they might be separate. I'd separate them, but for re-
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
clarity. But it's very important to have, uh, in a way, when do you reify, and that's a space-time trade-off always. When do you
Mhm.
reify the aggregation so that it becomes its own event stream, and when do you recalculate it from the
Yeah,
event
yeah,
stream?
yeah.
Whereas filtering, I think, will be mostly recomputed. There's no point reifying the filter stream. Maybe you
Can you
can
say it again? There's no point what? Reifying the filter stream.
reifying the filter stream, or you could reify it as a bunch of message identities, but there's no need to restore the messages in the filtered stream.
And there's a distinction there between filtered values and aggregated values, because functions such as average or whatever uh, um, produce values that can't have come from filtration, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
they are in effect de novo as a result of having been computed mathematically,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah,
Rather
yeah.
than selected out of a set of
I,
candidates.
I sent you the Red Planet Lab link, did I?
Oh God, I haven't had a chance to digest that.
Fair, fair, fair.
Yeah.
So, Sean, Bentley, we are talking. I don't know how much of this you see as related to what you're doing, but it should be seen as related to CDL main goals. What's your take?
Yeah, because it's creating a space for storage of not just narrative description of thought, but the reasons behind it and the structure, the underlying structure, storing it.
Yeah.
In a way, and visualizing it in a way that's actually useful. So that overlaps with CDL, and CDLs, it says debate, but really what we're talking about is truth finding, assuming we could, there's a better word than that. So yeah, it
And the
overlaps.
canonical part of Canonical Debate Lab is very much about
Yeah, finding
finding
a
the
way to
signature of
locate.
a claim.
Right.
Yeah, you need
Right.
a canonical signature for a claim so that similar claims can be deduplicated and arguments made against a version of a claim apply to variants.
Maybe we should call it the deduplicative debate lab. I'm trying to think of another
DDL.
word so we
Well,
can.
DDL has a bit of a bad history. DDL hell.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, so I think it overlaps a lot, and the interest in visualization, because we're constantly trying to figure out how to visualize this stuff. Some of the interesting things I'm working is also like visualizing semantic differences or meaning differences in how people use words, which I know, Sean, I saw some of your blog posts aiming at that. And then also
Oh,
when you're talking
really?
about
Oh,
this, so
sorry, where did you see that?
was that the noosphere, or am I thinking
Okay,
about?
okay, yep.
Yeah.
I
So
gave the link to Nosphere
yeah.
Okay.
in
Yep,
the
no,
in Discord.
So there's and then yeah, and I was thinking when my ears perked up when you were talking about the actually I've forgotten the name already, but your other display where it's the spreadsheet sort of thing.
Ponder rate, yeah.
Wonder-
Yeah, where you have the where two people can make an assertion about a value and the evidence behind the value. So that's the type of kind of place where I'm working on saying how storing mathematically how in their mind that evidence resulted in that value.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
accurately, but getting at least a vague idea of the weights and the reason, not just for the evidence, but the reason for the weights and how that comes together, which is of course overkill in a lot of situations, but I think useful when people really get to arguing about which value is the more accurate one for that situation. So yeah, and I think it all dovetails in nicely.
hmm yes, yes, no, exactly. I think Jack and Mark and Juan and I just yesterday started to talk about, okay, we need we need to figure out essentially what amounts to some ontological work, some definitions, some protocols here, so that the an adequate level of an adequate level of abstraction is hostable by these by some standards that we might be able to author to be able to act as a context for interop at an appropriate level between all these tools that we're all straining to create, right? So like the blind man and the elephant, we've all got different perspectives on the elephant, right? Is it a rope or a sheet or a wall or what the heck
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so so one of the big challenge is finding a deep, finding the deep description of data and knowledge and truth claim and candidate truth hypothesis, in effect, right? Parsable, such that it really does capture the essence of this collective cognitive process that humankind is engaged in, right? So that's got to be articulated in a fashion deep enough that it can host all of our disparate ambitions, because they're really, I think I have an understanding of what that is, and that model is deep enough that it can be a foundation for all of our work. And when we get there, then we can all basically build in a fashion that's interoperable. And I think that's the goal that we should have. I think it's achievable. And I think that's the goal that we should have.
Yeah. Now we've taken a couple of swings at that over the last several years. And I'm not saying we shouldn't again, but it has
We
been
should.
challenging.
We can do it.
Just because a couple people, sometimes people are a little too dogmatic on their own designs.
Yep.
I've
And I've
found,
been one of them, I'll agree. I'll admit.
yeah, although Mark
We all
before
are, of
really
course.
exploring the space of not just that, but the deeper model of how to make them time, tracking over time and tracking differences between the two. So I still think some of the meta stuff that people want to store could be stored in regardless of what your model is, at least with the communication methods. But yeah, finding a core way to communicate back and forth would be useful. I think my specific data will usually be some sort of metadata on the side because it's only useful for this one specific calculation, and it's designed to not require much of a standard form in the core system. Like I don't even care about the text of what you're describing. I just
Yeah,
need
yeah, no,
the
exactly.
relationship and
Yeah.
and then it can calculate the weights. Although when you put the data in and you do the relationships, they have to be done the order and the where they are stored and the relationship is actually determines the math. So I find a lot of times the data mapping that people have done before is not useful and it has to be remapped. So yeah, I mean we'll see, but that's definitely a good exercise to do.
We should wind it down here at the top of the hour. Yeah, shoot me a link to the video. Does this get slapped on the old YouTube?
Yep.
It is on YouTube, so we have a
Okay.
Canonical Debate Lab YouTube channel. I think if you go to
Okay.
canonicaldebatelab.com, there's a link.
Okay.
I'll probably get it posted up this afternoon. I clip off a little bit at the beginning.
Of course. Of
Uh,
course. Beautiful.
yeah.
I'll be back if you'll have me.
Yeah, love to have you.
We have this every month right now,
Ah.
first week of every month. So this is why
Oh.
I'm happy you could make it.
Yes, me
And
too.
then
Yeah, no, this is super. We this is one of the facets of how we make sense together. Again,
Yep.
and there's a whole bunch of them, right? This is one of them. It's critical that we get this one knitted into the.
And if there's ever
Absolutely.
a topic, like if you two guys wanted to chat and wanted it to be recorded on the channel, y'all can use the same link and then I would post it later. I think Mark and Tuan might even have the ability to post it. So
Yes, I do.
we can always do it more often. We just people are
Sure.
doing other things, so we
Of course,
cut it
of
down to
course.
once a month.
Yeah, we were weekly at some point. At some point, it's like, no, we can't sustain this. Let's.
Okay.
It's a
Good.
great community. Thanks.
Lovely to meet you, Benthley. Take care.
Sure. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.